right. It looks like we have a full house, so let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar on Rethinking Data Governance with IBM Watson Knowledge Catalog for the Caribbean. My name is Nabil Nazir. I'm a Senior Account Manager at Newcomp Analytics, and I will be your host and one of your presenters today. We have a great session lined up for you, and we hope that you will find the presentation informative and useful, regardless of whether you currently have a data governance strategy and solution in place or not at the moment. Our speakers today are Philip Draskovic, Information Architecture Domain Expert from IBM Canada, and Samvit Roy, Client Technical Specialist at IBM Canada, both of them with deep experience within the data governance space. Before getting into our webinar topic today, I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce Newcomp Analytics. We are a dedicated analytics practice with over hundreds of successful project implementations across Canada, the United States, and the Caribbean. We hold strategic partnerships with key technology vendors, and we are an IBM Platinum Business Partner, certified in data science, business analytics, hybrid data management, unified governance, and integrations. We have offices across Canada, including Toronto and Calgary. In the United States, we are located in Reedley, California, and in the Caribbean, we are based out of the Bahamas. We bring data analytics blueprints, models, and experience from over 15 industries across Canada, the United States, and the Caribbean, including public sector, banking, retail, manufacturing, CPG, insurance, telco, oil and gas, education, and many more. We have an impressive team of certified developers, consultants, and senior professionals with multiple years of experience within the data analytics and AI space, and always adding value to our clients' businesses. We focus on what we call the 5 pillars of analytics, and those include AI and machine learning, where we help our clients with developing machine learning models, predictive analytics, and AI solutions to solve their business problems. Data engineering, where we support our clients with building structures and processes to store, manage, and govern their data, where we also build data warehouses, data lakes, and support our clients' data virtualization initiatives. BI and data visualization, where we build solutions for reporting, dashboarding, and self-service analytics. Financial planning and analytics, targeted at the Office of Finance, where we help our clients automate and modernize their budgeting, planning, and forecasting processes with modern tools where security and automation are applied to the financial and operational planning workflow. And lastly, cloud and automation, where we help our clients plan and provide managed services for migrating their applications, data, and workloads to a cloud-based environment in order to accelerate analytical applications. We offer a wide variety of services, including advisory, professional development, training, and mentoring. We are one of IBM's leading providers of training for data and analytics in North America and the Caribbean. We also offer analytic roadmaps, manage analytics services, where we take care of your entire analytics environment and changing needs. And finally, software licensing and renewals. I'd like to mention that we are an approved and authorized reseller of IBM solutions for analytics and AI in the Caribbean. Our service models are flexible to fit your organization. We have a hybrid project approach, a typical client and consulting team, and this can be managed by you, our client, or by us. We build proof of concepts where you would share some data or a business case with us, and we prove the idea before you make any significant investments. We aim to be your trusted advisor. We teach clients to think like us, allowing them to build and grow their analytics deployment. Our remote engagement model, especially in such challenging times with COVID-19, allows you to have access to our team across North America and the Caribbean, and enables us to provide you with more options and faster responses. We focus a lot on enablement. We help clients get their new initiatives off the ground, whether it's from a needs assessment or analytic roadmaps, all the way to end-to-end implementation. Our support model is highly flexible. You have the option of selecting prepaid support buckets, as well as get on-demand support. So that covers our introduction to Newcomp Analytics. And now we will dive right into the topic of today's webinar. So I'm going to hand the floor to Philip, who's our next presenter, who will walk you through how to build a business-ready data foundation. Philip, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining again, and thank you to Newcomp for inviting Sam and myself to speak at the event today. So the plan is really for me to introduce the topic, talk a little bit about challenges and IBM solutions for data governance, and Sam is then going to take you through the actual demonstration and a little bit of art of the possible presentation for the rest of the session today. So I'll take about 20 minutes and then we'll hand it over to Sam right after. When we talk about data governance and kind of how it fits with a lot of organizations and their processes, it's nothing new, meaning that there's enough data points and enough history now that we can easily pinpoint where certain failures are when organizations were trying to manage their data and work with their data. So a lot of research has been done, and some of this research is not recent. So, this has been a known fact for a little while. But the key kind of comments that I wanted to bring up is that key components of the data governance that have to do with metadata management, data quality, data lineage, data integration, as some of those components of data governance processes and procedures that every company needs to get into were some crucial prerequisites that were more of an afterthought versus actually foundation before organizations were trying to go in and kind of monetize their data or tap their kind of unused data potential. That's kind of the setup for this today's conversation. We're going to give you some hints and tips as to what the keys to success are. There are key topic for today is kind of what do you need to do to be successful and to monetize your data or to either make more money, be more efficient, or save money. Like all of these have to do with data monetization. The three keys to success really are the data governance framework. So this is the setup that you need to actually manage your business terms, your reference data, your data classes, classifications, and to basically set up and have policies and rules that would basically kind of enable those policies. Those have to be set up and in place somewhere so they can be actually connected to your data assets. To connect the data governance framework to your data assets, the first thing you need to do is connect to that data. You need to do some data discovery, some data profiling, right? You need to do some data quality, and then you need to kind of join those business terms to your data assets because let's say, column ABC in a database may be actually account number. You may have account ID, account number, ACC ID. All of those are fields that all mean the same business thing. It's an account number, a very important data point in everybody's systems. For example, if you're a bank or if you're a certain a retail organization, if you're let's say a higher education institution or ministry, let's say student ID or unique identifier, that's also important. But one school may call it student ID, one could call it STUD ID, one could call it something else, but they all mean the same thing. So how is a business user who's looking for a student ID going to find this when they do their search, right? So this is why it's important to actually link the business term to our data assets, so we actually even can find out in how many databases or tables do we actually have student IDs, and are they all unique? Are they all linked? Do we have a 360-degree view of our customer or our student or whatever else we need to kind of keep track of, right? And of course, if any data transformation has been done from the raw source database from my ERP system all the way to that analytical dashboard that I'm actually displaying, can I actually trace it back and view what we call data lineage? Do I have trust that this data is the right data that I need for my analysis, because I'm making business decisions based on that, right? So what I've just described is a framework, a connectivity to the data, and linking that and putting the business context on it. And the third very important component of it, which is usually neglected, is how you're going to consume that data. I need to put that power into the business users so they can actually locate the data, they can trust the data. And then when they find that data, they still need to do something that's unique to them for their business question, which means they may need to touch up that data, shape it, join it with some other data set that they also trust. So now they can use it in their analytical processes, whether it's like a data science AI model, or it's some kind of a, as simple as a dashboard that's going to produce something. So those are 3 keys to success that we usually talk about when we start discussions with our clients, and to basically gauge, what is their maturity with data governance. A lot of these steps that I described can be broken down in a little bit of a different way. At IBM, we break them down into kind of 4 key sections: discovering data, understanding data, preparing data, and consuming data. In a normal world, if you go in and buy best of breed tool for every single component of these steps, you may end up with 5, 6, sometimes even a dozen different tools. So what's slowing down a lot of innovation, what's slowing down the processes, and why sometimes data governance is a big project for any company, is that you need to integrate those tools to actually have a full view and create that lineage view if you can. So a lot of tools in the marketplace are just that. They're tools that need to be connected together to create what we today call data fabric. But from an IBM perspective, then part of today's presentation is that IBM actually does not have a tool. It has a platform that allows different personas in the organization to be part of this process. So to allow data architect to connect to the data, do all the metadata management, do all the data transformation, data engineer to do all the profiling, ensure data quality, data stewards to actually expose the data, protect the data. Because one big key component in today's world is the data privacy. Label the data assets. Are they protected? Are they do they contain any PII information? So when people access them, do we need to make sure that we restrict that access as well? So there's a lot of policy management there. And then at the end, when we get to the knowledge workers, and knowledge workers are our business analysts, our data scientists, they need ability to find the data. They may need to do some data prep, and they need to basically go in and start using that data. So all of that is part, and in our view, needs to be part of a overall platform, not just a dozen different tools that you're going to connect together and integrate, which does take the most of the time. So we want this path or this process to be measured more in weeks or months versus years that it is today for a lot of organizations. I hope that makes sense as we're presenting this. So part of the approach is really to borrow some of the DevOps type of concepts and merge them with data, and to us really becomes DevOps for data. So basically being able to track everything it's doing, have all the lineage, and have a lot of, call it quote unquote, version control, so you know exactly what happened to the data every step of the way, and be able to revert or go back to the previous step, and enable the collaboration between the person who needs the data and the person who's providing the data. At speed and scale. So what does that mean? Sometimes the most simplest way to explain it is, if you have to put a request for data every time you need something, and you have to wait days, weeks, months for the quote unquote data engineer to create that, and the data engineer is providing you a copy of extract of the data, there's a lot of repetition there and a lot of extracts, a lot of copies of the data that increases the time to value, that increases the risk of an exposure from a security perspective, because having copies of data everywhere is a security risk, but also is potentially a risk from stale data, inaccurate data, are you using the right copy, and things like that. So all of that needs to be much more streamlined, and it needs to be done faster, right? So a lot of things that the data steward has to do, a lot of these data quality and assessments also have to be automated more, so they provide the steps to the data steward to be faster at providing information and basically responding to the requests. So what do we need through all this? We also need workflow to tie all these activities together. So all of that is really what it comes down to, technology and enabling those knowledge workers and our data architects, data stewards, to kind of work together. And that's what we're talking about today. How do we do that? So from an IBM perspective, where IBM is the industry leader for data integration, data quality, data governance, and data consumption, imagine all of those 4 being joined together into a single platform, single solution that we call What's the Knowledge Catalog. which is not just a catalog that contains all the metadata and all the information about your data, but it also enables all of the automated metadata curation services, which deal with discovering data, classifying data, detecting sensitive data, dealing with data quality, and also assigning business terms and linking your business terms to the data assets as one step, cataloging it all, and then under the covers, making sure that all of the steps and all the transformations that have happened to the data are kept in a record so that we can actually provide data lineage. And we also have a lot of policy management and enforcement, which means that if I detect a classified or call it PII type of a data class, automatically the data will be obfuscated in the way you want it, or the way you as a business user design it. So in some cases, data has to be totally obfuscated. In some cases, has to be omitted, right? So all of these are different steps that you need to take to ensure data privacy. So that needs to be taken care of. A lot of reference data management needs to be taken care of as well, so you can allow lookup tables and different terms to be associated. And at the same time, I need to make sure that I can track and even prove that over time, my data governance processes have actually contributed to improving data quality over time, because the higher the quality of the data, the better decisions we can make. And then the last step, of course, is can I actually allow some collaboration with the business users where they can actually even rate, do something as simple as rating my data assets that I'm providing to the business users, and the business users can start contributing to the actual confidence level that the rest of the business users will have in the data that's been provided by the organization, meaning that they can rate and say, I use this data assets for this type of analysis and it was great, yielded high results. So if other users can actually see that and provide their comments or connect and have a way to collaborate in the same environment, overall, this increases the usage and the confidence that users have in the data assets that have been provided. So it's just a simple example of collaboration services. And of course, we want to make sure that they can quickly find the relevant data they need. They can request the data they don't see, and the data stewards can quickly respond to those requests and provision the information, and without having to redo the work they've already done somewhere else, right? So all of the work has been preserved. And of course, the last mile is, what if we need to touch up the data a little bit? Do we want to provide data extraction capabilities and give that flat file to the business user and we don't know what's happening with the data afterwards? Or do we want to maybe in the same platform provide the business user ability to touch up the data, do the data prep, and then put into their process? So those are all the questions that we're trying to answer and address as what we see is the needs for modern data governance platform today. Hope that makes sense. I'll pause for a second to see if Nabil has any questions in the chat. Otherwise, we'll take 5 more minutes and then hand it off to Sam to do the presentation, or actually the demo of the platform.
No questions in the chat window so far, Philip, so I think we can kind of continue.
So from an IBM perspective, what I've described so far is kind of part of our strategy, right? So we want to provide a platform that can run anywhere, so on any infrastructure, whether it's cloud-based or on-prem. We want to provide the services that are required, and a lot of these services that I mentioned, anything from data quality monitoring, data discovery, to actually policy enforcements, all of those, you may need some of them or you need all of them. So you can kind of turn on and flip the switch that you need, but all of the services are there out of the box. We want to be able to share the metadata, which means it's not a closed system. You can expose the metadata to any other solution or system that you need to, right? And also what we want to make sure is that we can satisfy all the types of users that you have in your organization. So that overall is the catalog strategy from IBM, and kind of fits into everything that I've described so far. So if I kind of again put another view of the same information, this is kind of how those personas will participate and the types of activities those personas will do at each organization. So we want to be able to make sure that the platform supports each of these activities. So from data architects, they're the ones who are going to create the actual structure, and they'll make sure that the data connectivity is established and all the data classifications are done. So data classification is an example of, what is the structure of the ID or the driver's license, passport, whatever we have that can be classified and recognized as a specific data class, because based on the data class, I'm going to trigger a lot of data protection, other data rules automatically within my platform. The data engineers will take time to profile data. They're responsible for data quality, and they're the ones who respond to the actual requests, and they're the ones who are making sure that the catalog is up to date and all the workflow tasks are completed. Data stewards are kind of the business tie-in from the technical to the business users. They're the ones who are helping the knowledge workers find and locate the relevant data or provision the data and work with the data engineers. And now we have our knowledge workers, business analysts, data scientists, who are now going to consume that data and from there on move in to create the dashboards analysis they need, or in the case of data scientists, they are using that, call it quality now, validated, trusted data to create any predictive models they need. As I mentioned, the solution we're talking about today from a IBM product perspective is called Watson Knowledge Catalog. Is that one application that allows you to do those 4 key components that we feel is part of any proper data governance framework in any organization. So we want to make sure that the Watson Knowledge Catalog provides you with data integration, data governance, data quality, and data consumption activity capabilities that you need for day-to-day operation. So in summary, this is kind of what the solution does, and you will get the taste of that today when we kind of show you the actual tool in action. The last piece, just before I hand over to Sam, that I wanted to mention as well is that it's not always enough to give you the platform, the tool. You need a little bit of more help to kind of you use the tool to the best possible capabilities. What I mean by that is that, you know, if I take you back to the 3 keys to success, we need to build a data governance framework. That framework, as I mentioned, includes the business terms relevant to your business, includes your relevant business industry reference data, relevant business industry data classes, the data classifications, and then general policies and rules that within an industry kind of apply equally to all the organizations. So if you're a financial institution, you all have similar policies and regulatory requirements like any other banking institution in your country, and then in some cases continent and world, right? Monetary funds and things like that. Higher education, same thing. Retail, same thing. Like there are certain things that are consistent for each industry. So when you purchase any tool or any platform, you're getting a clean slate, a blank slate, meaning that you need to create those business terms, you need to load them, you need to create the reference data, you need to load the reference data, you need to define your own data classes and things like that. So that also takes time. So to speed that up, what IBM solutions come bundled with, that as an add-on, which is a very valuable add-on, imagine that for your industry, for your business, this data governance framework comes out of the box preloaded with everything you need. So your business glossary relevant to your industry and your company comes already preloaded with reference data management and with general policies that drive the industry. So imagine if all of that is loaded with what we call a knowledge accelerator, which means it saves you time to load all that. You can always customize and add a few things that are maybe very, very unique to your business. But imagine as a financial institution having all of the business glossaries preloaded for, you know, lending business, or from a from a retail perspective, loaded for all the types of retail terms and policies that are kind of driving trade and things like that. So all of that is also part of the solutions with IBM, where not only will you get the platform, but the platform is preloaded with industry relevant content and really speeds up and allows you to go back and right away jump into data discovery and understanding your assets, which means shortens the actual trip that you need to take and the actual project you need to undertake to build and start building your data governance framework. So that comes with the solution as a suggested value add that should speed up the development of your projects, and they come specific to your industry, right? So that's the another add-on that comes with the solutions that we're suggesting today. So out of the box compliance, streamline data governance, and simplify analytics very quickly to give you kind of an idea of how each role would use and what are the use cases, right, and the benefits of doing this. So by role, this is how the data discovery and auto classification is sped up by using these knowledge accelerators. The data engineer and data scientists can find relevant data using industry terms, which have been joined to your data assets much quicker, right? And of course, the business analysts can use the specific regulatory issues and different key business terms to find information they need as well. So those are some general ideas to give you an idea how you can fast track development of the data governance projects. And again, reminder, all of this is about technology, but people and process, which are key components into any data governance implementation, is up to you, right? So we are here to show you how the technology fits into this. It just doesn't replace the need to have a data steward and data engineer or business analyst as part of this process. So I'm hoping that kind of came across clear as well. So at this point, what I'll do is I'll hand it over to Sam, unless there are any questions, Nabil, and Sam will actually show you a little bit of that platform in action.
First of all, Nabil and our partners for arranging this session, and thank you all to all the attendees who have taken out time to attend this. Before I begin my demo, I just wanted to quickly highlight why we are here and what I'm trying to do in the next 20 minutes for you. So during this demo, I'll show you the highlights of what Watson Knowledge Catalog can do for your organization. I'm basing this demo on a financial institution where I am a data analyst who is coming into the platform and searching for data. That data would be related to mortgage. So I'll show you how I do that. That will be the first 10 minutes. In the last 10 minutes, I'll also wear the hat of a data steward and show you how I can quickly set up rules, policies, classifications, while and also look at the data quality, because that is something that data stewards do in their day-to-day life. So quickly to start, so the first session will be I'll be wearing the hat of a data analyst. So as a data analyst, I log into my system. I'm looking for a mortgage data, right? So I will start searching here on the global search, and you can see like automatically there is some AI built-in capabilities in the platform itself. I just type mortgage and showing me the search engine behind the scene, what all can be searched here. So let's just do a mortgage search, and this will bring up all the data that is related to mortgage in the catalog. So right off the bat, I'm saving time by not going into databases looking for data and doing that work, but instead I'm just looking at my catalog and trying to find the relevant data. Now there, as you can see, there are like 42 items here. How do I shortlist them? So we provide different filters to do that. Like you can shortlist by a definition, a data asset, data class. If the data steward has tagged your data, you can also shortlist by looking at the tags. If you have multiple data stewards in the company, you can also filter by looking at the steward who has done the work, and the last but not least, but who has modified it, right? So for me, I'm going to look at a data asset, and I know that it is part of a business catalog, so I'm going to narrow my search by looking at the business catalog. And now I can see that from 24, it has now narrowed down to 3 items. I think this is the item that I want to use. I can see that there is email address, phone number, and social security number in this data asset, which means that there might be some sensitive information. So let's look at the tags. So there's banking, mortgage, and one more. Yeah, so there is a sensitive tag, which tells me that some of these data might be PII information and needs to be protected. So let's go into the other side of the things and look at the catalog itself. So when I open my catalog, you will show that there is only one catalog, because as a data analyst, I only have access to one catalog. But if I had multiple catalogs in the same place, different people will have different access to different catalogs. So for me, there is only one catalog here, so I'm going to go into that catalog. In my catalog, you will see that things are arranged as what Watson recommends. So based on the search that I do, Watson is our AI engine behind the scene, which is recommending what are the data assets that might be useful for me. The other way to search is by highly rated. So it is a social platform. You work in a team, so we want you to have the aspects of social, social interaction as well. So there are ways to review an item, which I will show you, and based on that also I can search. Also, the last but not least is recently added. So if someone has done recent addition to the catalog, you can also look at here. Same search filter criteria are available, or you can type in here. You will see there is an access control as well. So what does that show you? Like data access is inbuilt at many different layers, not only at the platform layer, but also at the catalog layer. I can only share this catalog with people that I want to work with. And then lastly, there is some settings page there, and you can see that there is some data protection going on, which is enforced, or if you don't want to enforce, you can do that as well. Let's go back to the browse assets. I want to look at the mortgage applicant data that I was looking at from the other page. So let's open it right now. Once I open it, you will see the general description about the mortgage applicant. So there is some overview, what kind of file it is, what is the size, what are the tags related to it, when it was added, description of what that data asset is, the business terms which can be found in the data asset. Is there a sensitive data? Then yes, the classification of the sensitive data for mining data privacy, and then relationship, like how is this data asset related to other data assets that you might have in the system. Now let's take a look at the data asset itself. I can see the rows and the columns and all the information which is there. I can also see that some of the columns are masked. So right off the bat, this is like real-time masking of information where all your sensitive data is being masked. So any compliance or privacy related data can be masked or obfuscated or redacted based on the rules that you want to apply to the data. The third level of access comes in here, where I can also share access to the data asset. So there's another level of giving access to people so that your data is secure. The social aspect part that I was telling you about in the beginning, if you like the data, you can review, and it's a trusted format. So if I see that Philip or my team has said that, okay, this is a 5-star great asset to have, it automatically builds trust into this data asset. Instead of going into rows by rows and columns by column, I can also look at the high level profile of the data. This tells me what kind of data is there in my data asset. It also tells me about the statistics of the data, like what is the minimum, what is the maximum, what is the unique items, how many unique items are there. It also classifies once the data is pointed, it also automatically classifies with some level of confidence what is that data referring to. So if I click here, you will see that, I'm sorry, yeah. So if I click here, you will see that, Watson Knowledge Catalog is saying that this 81% match is from city, but it can also be some country. So based on the matching, Watson Knowledge Catalog is telling you that, okay, this seems to be city. And also it classifies the data type as well. So what kind of data type is there in the row? So again, instead of going column by column, row by row, I can see a very high level profile of the data and figure out what's going on, what is there in the data. And the security aspect is inbuilt. Even from the statistics, people can make out what the data might be. So that's why it's enforced that you won't be able to see even the statistics of that particular column. Lastly, the point of building trust is also looking at what has been done to your data, right? Who has touched it, what has been done to it. And that's where the activity part comes in, where you can see like when the data was published to the catalog, who has created an attribute, who has touched your data. So again, the whole idea is, as a data analyst, when I come into the system, I want to make sure that this is the right data that I'm looking for, and I can really trust this data. Now that I have seen everything, I like the data, I think this is a good data to be used, I want to pass it to my data scientist. And that's where the other aspects of Watson Knowledge Catalog will come in, where now I trust this data, so I'm passing it into a project. So right now I am in my projects page. Project page is another way of organizing your different projects that are going on in your company. So mortgage default is a project that I was looking at. So I'm going to open my mortgage default page. And you can see in the project what are the assets here. Mortgage applicant is the asset that I added. You can see different environments, like what is going on in the environment itself. Just give it 1 second to load. I think it's just running low on battery right now. Yeah, so you can see what are the jobs which are going on. You can also see what are the environments. Again, access control, which is very critical to any project. I can only share access to this project with the people who I want to work with. So let's go back into the assets. And this is the asset I am going to use. So I have that asset open here. This is the asset that we were looking at. The data is there, the profile and the visualization. Now, before I pass it to a data scientist, I just want to modify the data because my data scientist wanted me to segregate the name into first name and last name. So how do I do that? There is many operations which are built right off the box. I can do math here. I can substitute. I can ascend, descend. I can replace substring, remove duplicates. What I want to do is basically go and split the column, right? So I'm going to split the column into first name and last name. Now, as you know, demo is all about the cooking show. So I want to show you the end result before, instead of going into the nitty gritty of things. So the end result is that, I have divided the first name and the last name, and I have kept the full name as well, just to make sure that the data scientists, when I pass it to them, they have the original information as well. So that's how you can quickly refine your data as well from what's a knowledge catalog. The other part is also visualizing. Data analysts do a lot of visualization to look at the data. And from our system, we can quickly look at the, different kind of data assets and make sure that, it is what we want. So if I look at, let's say, a city, I can quickly understand, okay, which city has the most number of people in it. New York has 19%, Denver has 12.5%. So again, different ways of looking at the data and making sense of it. Instead of going row by row and column by column, I can visualize the data in a much better way. So that's the part I wanted to show you from the data analyst point of view, right? So I came into the system, I searched for the data, I made sure that the data is what I'm looking for, I added into my project and passed it into the data scientist. Any questions till now? Nabil, any questions that you could see?
So there is one question. I think let me just check here. I think someone has already answered the question. Just give me 1 second here. So there was a question, Sam, about whether one person can actually have multiple roles.
Yes, a person can have multiple roles, and right off the box, WKC has defined roles which you can give to people. So data steward, data analyst, data engineer, data scientist, and all those are defined, predefined. The levels of access are predefined, but it doesn't stop you from giving a same person different level of authorization and different level of different roles as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sam.
No problem. So now for the second piece of the demo, I'm going to wear the hat of a data steward, and I'll show you what a data steward can do in their day-to-day life. So as a data steward, I can come into my Watson Knowledge Catalog and start creating some categories of data. And this is what Philip was showing, that, these categories, these definitions, the business terms or policies, they can also be bought right off the box through the knowledge accelerators. But if I am not doing that, I want to create everything on my own, I can start doing this by coming to categories, defining a category, making sure that there is data in the category. So you can see who is the data steward, who has worked on it, who had created it, and what is the data inside this category. So the mortgage is inside the banking category, and all the artifacts in the mortgage, like applicant ID, applied online, everything, all the business terms and governance rules are inside this category. What else I can do? I can define business terms. So it's good to look at data, but you need to understand what the data refers to. If I give you just a 10-digit number, it can be a phone number, it can be account ID, it can be many different things. So you need to define those things as business terms, and it is very important to define these business terms so that the whole of organization knows what they are looking at, having consistency. So there again, many things come out of the box, but also you can go and start defining these business terms. There are also some classifications that have been done right off the box. So if I look at the classification, you will see that it's related to data privacy. So it's confidential, personally identifiable, and SPI, which is the sensitive data. And based on this, you can classify the different kinds of data. So when I was showing you the demo in the beginning, you saw the lock on some of the personally identified data that was being classified as a sensitive data, and you cannot look at it. Different data classes can be defined here as well. So if I go into data classes, you will see that there are different data classes which have been defined, and these are like all coming out of the box, or you can also start defining them from here. The last two pieces which are really important are the policies and the rules. So if I go into the policies, you will see the different kind of policies that our organization has set up to govern this data. And one of that is obviously the PII data, how to govern the PII data, where to protect it. And the last but not the least is the rule. So I can also come in and define the rule. So if I see a PII data, how do I protect it? If I see a credit card information and I want to protect it, there should be a criteria, and this is the logic of and you can see, like, if and else, there is some logic built into this. If you see a data class or credit card number, you can redact it or you can obfuscate it. So that's the day-to-day role of a oh yeah, the last piece. So data quality is also very important to data stewards, right? And they can come in here and they can look at the quality of the data in the project. So very high level, it gives them a very good looking dashboard to see what is going on with the data, how much is which confirmed with the rules, how much do not. If I go into data asset, just looking at one data at once, I can see what are the columns in the data, when it was analyzed, what is the data class, which business term is related to it, what is the format. If I look at the governance, what are the published rules, how is it suggested, what are the suggested terms in there, the quality of the data, how many of them have some kind of some data class violations, and I can look at that as well and go deeper into it. It tells me what kind of different data classes are there. So again, very extensive list of data quality and how to measure data quality. And the beautiful thing about is that I can set threshold. So anytime it drops from 80%, it will send a notification to your data steward saying that, hey, the quality of the data is not that great. And they can come in and look into the data quality and figure out, okay, what's going on and where the quality went bad. So with that, I complete my portion of the demo. Again, the second piece of the demo, I wore the data steward hat, where I showed you how I can come in and create rules, policies, how I can classify the data, how I can create business terms. And this is what data stewards do, and also look at the data quality of my data, right? These are the day-to-day activities that data stewards do. So again, one simple platform where everything is integrated. I can look at it from the data steward side, or I can look at it from the data analyst side. With that, I want to pass it back to Nabil and see if there are any questions before I do that.
Thank you, Sam. That's really great demo. There is actually one other question that came up while you were presenting. So the question is, apart from visualization, do analytical results come pre-interpreted as in written statements indicating what it means for the organization or implications for the organization?
It's Philip here. I can take that question if you want.
Yeah, go ahead, Philip.
Yeah. So great question. I mean, the short answer is it depends. What really the end result is you need. Like, is it an actionable thing or not, right? The reason I say that is because remember we talked about policies and rules, right? So policies are the ones that are going to have that written statement in what the policy means for the organization. To enforce a policy, you need to develop a number of different data rules. So basically what we have in the organization as part of that lineage that we talked about is the rules will be active. those rules will ensure that the policy is adhered to, which again has a certain meaning for the organization, and those will be triggered, right? So in a roundabout way, yes, there is a way to link it back in, and it all then depends on how you're going to surface and report that to the end user, because the end user will find a data element. It will know that the data element is controlled by the data rule. It will map to a data rule. The data rule maps to a policy, and it's all visualized it's all visualized for the end user, so they understand exactly, you know, what's the impact, right? So in a sense, we can make it presented that way if kind of that's what you're looking for. But really, it has to do with, are you enforcing the policies, and are they active? And the only way they can be active is if you have certain data rules that are active, that automatically apply every time somebody touches a data element, right? Or behind the scenes, you know, data quality rules kick in. They're going to say you failed your check, so and this is going to impact X, Y, Z, and then the report gets kicked out automatically to the let's say data quality person who's going to go and fix it, whether it's at the source system or somewhere else. Hopefully, Penelope, this answers your question.
Great, thank you, Philip. I do have like one last question for Sam, and that's a question for myself. So Sam, I know you obviously showed us how to create like a data asset as well as, you know, search for a data asset. So
Yeah.
once a data asset is pushed to a data scientist from the solution that you showed us as an example, can the data scientist use the same platform to do like data science work as an example?
Yeah, sure. Let me show my screen, and then I can also walk you through. So yes, so great question, Nabil. So yeah, so as I was saying that, you know, once I've added this to my project, a data scientist can really come in and they can start doing, and there are three ways of doing a data science work. You know, some people like to do the visualization part of it. So we have modular floor, which is our old SPSS way of doing things, where, you know, you can, it's very beautifully crafted. So you can drag and drop connectors, you can drag and drop some of the things on the canvas, and it will transform the data and the results will come out, right? The other way of doing it through is the notebook. So it's very hands-on. You can type in your Python code or R code, and you can develop the beautiful looking notebooks that you have and then publish the results or publish the APIs, which can be, again, you know, called from, let's say, a mobile app. And the third way of doing data science work is through auto AI experiments. So this is for more like novice data scientist, data citizens who want to work on or who want to create their own data science projects, but are not very hands-on with the Python codes and all, which is where auto AI comes in, where it does many of the things that a data scientist will do, such as splitting the data, some regression models, putting regression models on top of it, and then publishing the results. So, you know, it takes away from you knowing everything about data science and simplifies it. I would say, I don't think that it will take away a data scientist work, but it will simplify it for sure. So again, there are multiple ways a data science team can come in and work with the data that a data analyst has cleared. I
Great.
hope that answers your question, Nabil.
It certainly does. Thank you very much, Sam. If you don't mind just passing it back to me for screen sharing.
Nabil. Nabil, yeah.
Yeah.
You have it now.
Perfect. Okay, great. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So thank you very much, Philip and Sam, and thanks so much for addressing the questions for the presentation as well as for the demo. Before we let everyone go, I do have a couple of final slides. So as an IBM Platinum Business Partner and an approved training provider for IBM Solutions, we do offer a series of courses for IBM Watson Knowledge Catalog, the solution that Sam has showed you. Both of those courses that you see on the screen here provide a business analyst with an introduction to the basics of IBM Watson Knowledge Catalog, and also teaches them how to access the catalog and gain skills in creating catalogs, populating them with assets, as well as managing the assets in the catalog. So if you're interested, you know, we would be sending you the slides afterwards, and you'll have access to more detailed course outline for those courses. We also offer analytics boot camps, which are half-day one-on-one sessions with one of our experts and your organization, where we help you learn various topics like APIs, data lakes, and machine learning, as well as tools for working with today's data environment. Lastly, during these challenging COVID-19 times, we are running an ongoing event, which we call Newcomp Office Hours, where you can book a complimentary 1-hour session with our experts and bring your data analytics use cases or challenges for us to discuss and brainstorm. Our only requirement for this complimentary hour is that we expect about 4 or more people from your team to join for a 1-hour interval. And you can book this session here on the link that's going to be on the slide when we send you the slide deck. So that brings us to the end of today's webinar. As I mentioned, I will be sharing the recording and the slides with you over the next few days via email. So thank you so much everyone for joining. Have a great rest of your day and stay safe.